First off, I need to introduce myself. My name is Bruce Bradway. I am a professor of psychology at Dene College. I have been there, I've been teaching at Dene College since 2016. I haven't been there since COVID, mainly because medical situations have precluded me from coming back up into the mountains. And the reality is uh, that Saley is at 7,000 feet, and I live at 700 feet. So there's a big difference. Okay, this is a capstone class. There are three capstone classes for the psychology program. One is 497, Psych 497, Psych 498, and 499. 497 is a thesis. 498 is research, original research. And then 499 is field work. And of course, depending on which direction you're going in psychology, you choose either 497, 498, or 499. It's possible that you would rather be in field work or that you would rather be doing original research, and that's fine. We put this program together. I was actually in on the initial year that psychology was had a program, and it was really kind of interesting. Initially, it was put together as a cognitive psychology program with original research, the only field work or the only capstone that you could do, and then we eventually we added field work and the thesis. It expanded. It really expanded the number of graduates that we had in the program. So let me talk about writing your thesis. Like I said, I've been there for 10 years. This is my 10th year teaching at Dene College. I know Wilson. I know Avery. uh, and I'm a big fan of everyone that you've taken. Monique used to be one of my students. I'm sorry, Professor James used to be one of my students, and Dr. Barber and Dr. Russ are good friends of mine. So let's talk about the thesis that you need to do. A thesis is a library paper times five, if you can think of it that way. If you've ever taken a class from me, I had you write a paper at the end of the semester. I wanted it to be 5 pages with five references. Well, a thesis is five times that. It's still about one topic. You need to be very careful not to pick a topic that is too general or too specific. If it's too specific, you're going to have a difficult time finding enough information about it. It I want your thesis to be between 25 and 30 pages with about 25 to 30 references, depending on what the topic is. Um, yeah, so you need to make sure that it's something that you're interested in. The more interested you are in the topic, the easier it is to do the research. You look forward to doing the research because you wonder about all of these things. So there you go. The more meaningful it is for you, the easier it will be to focus on your research and to write your paper. Uh, Make it about yourself if possible, or the people around you. That will tell me. Mention the fact something about the, the Dene people. Otherwise, it sounds like AI. I read a paper last semester that I'm not really sure was written by the individual, and it didn't mention the Navajo people at all. It didn't mention the Navajo Nation, didn't mention Dene, didn't mention in any of the proclivities that are specific to Dene people and to the Navajo Nation. Remember that I am probably the only one that will ever read this. Dr. Russ won't read it. Dr. Barber won't read it. Professor James won't read it. It's just between you and I. So there you go. Don't worry about disclosing information that might get out to the general public. If it gets out to the general public where I am, I live in a cornfield in Iowa. Actually, it's a soybean field this year. So I live over by the Mississippi River. Iowa is bracketed by two rivers, the Missouri River in the west and the Mississippi River in the east. And I used to live, I used to live on the Missouri River in Nebraska, but now we live in Lost Nation, which is about 30 miles from the Mississippi River. As curious as all that is. So I'm the only one that will be reading this paper. If you disclose anything, don't worry, it's not going to get out because only you will know about it, and only I will know about it. So you can disclose anything you like. You can use Grammarly if you want. Grammarly actually makes it a little bit easier for me to read your paper at the end of the semester. Sometimes. Sometimes I have multiple papers to read, and Grammarly it makes it a little bit easier to get through. But it's the only AI platform that I will accept. If you try one of the others, a lot of times the information that they will give you will be incorrect, or it will be only partially correct. That's a huge problem with AI. It's one that they've been dealing with. AI has, they've noticed that AI has been going rogue lately. So you got to be really careful. You never, and if you just, yeah, you just accept everything that AI says, you never know what they're going to say about the Dene people or indigenous people. It tends to be very repetitive. They say the same thing over and over again. A lot of times they'll say the same thing in different terms or different ways. You get an introductory sentence from AI that will be the same one over and over and over and over again. It gets kind of old. One of the problems that AI tends to have is that AI has a difficult time finding sources, especially when they're making things up. This is they the federal government wrote a white paper for the Congress where they used AI, and it was using sources that didn't exist. That was not that funny. You don't have to write about indigenous people if you don't want to, but you can. One of the things that you need to remember is, well, you don't need to remember this if you don't want to, but I've worked on other reservations. This is my third reservation. I was also up in Montana, and I worked on the Flathead Reservation for a very short period of time. And I worked on the Fort Belknap Reservation. I taught at Fort Belknap College, which is now Ani Nakota College. That's just something that you need to be aware of. There are 575 recognized American Indian Alaska Native entities. Some of them, it gets interesting the way the federal government puts these things together. But there's a lot of indigenous people in the United States. Half of all indigenous people, I didn't realize this, half of indigenous people live in the Southwest. So where you are is the most populous area. The amount of research on the Navajo Nation is quite limited. Tends to be quite limited, and there's a reason for that. The people of the Navajo Nation didn't want to be researched. This is a problem that they have seen, we have seen, and hopefully in the future. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about this. This was a huge argument. As a matter of fact, when I was teaching up in Montana, that's one of the reasons I lost my job is because I wanted to do research, helping, uh, looking at the indigenous people in the area, and they got pretty upset about that. I did it anyway, and you can see it if you want. Just type my name in and put in their resilience, and they will take you to my research. Um, Potentially, you're not going to be able to find enough information on the Navajo Nation dealing with mental health or suicide or whatever it is that you're looking at, alcohol related problems, drug related problems. You're not going to be able to find enough information to write a paper about just the Navajo Nation. You'll have to look at other indigenous groups and like I have had experience with those things. So there you go. I don't know. Anyway, if you can, there's a lot of research that comes out of Canada, and Canada has had different experiences with Indigenous people. They were much more brutal dealing with the Indigenous people in Canada. They don't refer uh, to their indigenous population as American Indians. They refer to them as First Nation people. They don't live on reservations. They live on reserves. And it is a little bit more brutal. You know, there's some of the statistics coming out of Canada is pretty ugly. For one thing, 50% of all the trafficked women in Canada are Indigenous, as weird as that may seem. Yeah, you know, there's a ton of different ways of looking at this. Of course, it's it's not good in the United States, but it's certainly not that bad. So Canada has a different way of looking at things. When they took all of the indigenous children away to boarding schools. They didn't have residential boarding schools in the area, um, and actually the two kind of fed off of each other. What Canada did, the United States tried to do, but it was too expensive, so they decided to do it in a different way. You know, it's a different government, so it's a different way of looking at things. Um, okay, that's it. Welcome to the class. I'm sorry that I'm a couple days late. It wasn't on the schedule until this week, I don't think. So I agreed to teach it last April, but it didn't. Somehow it didn't get on the schedule. Dr. Barber took care of that. Thank you, Jeremiah, for taking care of that. I will publish the syllabus. You can write this paper any way you want. The only thing I'm going to grade is the thesis. I'm not going to grade anything else. You can give me anything that you want to look at, and I'll be glad to look at it. But the only thing I'm going to grade is the thesis. The syllabus is going to talk about turning in your thesis statement, and that's the thesis. Knowing what you're going to write on is really important, but a lot of times it'll change during your research because you can't find enough research. But the only thing I'm going to grade is the thesis. You can do it any way you want. You can start writing now. I don't care. You know, when you get into the university, they're going to expect you to be able to do these kinds of things. Me dictating to you how you write your paper, I don't think that's correct. You're going to have to do it yourself anyway, eventually. Um, One interesting thing is that, yes, your thesis is 5 times a library paper, but if you decide to get a PhD, your dissertation is going to be 5 times what a thesis is. Potentially, if you go for a master's degree, they will have you write a thesis, and it will be very similar to what you're doing right now. So there you go. Okay, good luck. If communicate with me anytime you want. This is the only class I'm teaching this semester. So, you know, I'll help you any way I can. I'll help you with research if you need. I'll probably put a video up that shows you uh, how to write your references. Uh, I think I will anyway. And if you notice, I have my Dene College T-shirt on. There you go. I thought that would be appropriate. Okay. I live on a about 5 acres, and we have an orchard of about 60 apple trees and 4 or 5 cherry bushes. But this year, it was a bad year. We had a freeze that killed all the blossoms, and we didn't get hardly any apples. So there you go. Okay. Good luck. If you need any assistance in one way or another, just contact me, and I'll be glad to see what I can do to help. Okay? Let me turn this thing.